Hello, hello. This is Tiffany with Healthy Passions. If you do not know me, let me briefly introduce myself. I am a certified personal trainer, certified wellness coach, certified energy healer by birth. I am an oracle, prophetess, and a natural healer. So this morning I woke up with Jeremiah heavy on the brain, which means it's time for me to do another video. Um, it looks like we're going to be dissecting Jeremiah pretty kind of like with a fine-tooth comb. The vision that I'm getting in my head is taking a comb and combing it slowly through the hair to kind of like, so he's saying basically like with a fine-tooth comb, we're going to go through Jeremiah with a fine-tooth comb. And I'm seeing that with the way that the verses are being broken down. So we started with chapter 1, 4 through 16 yesterday. So we're going to start with 16 through 19 today on chapter 1. So um, it's just the ending of chapter 1 basically. So let me start with 16 to give you a refresher of where we left off and go into 19. All right. So it says, "And I shall pronounce my judgments against them concerning all their evil, because they have forsaken me, burned incense to other mighty ones, and bowed themselves to the works of their own hands. Now guard up your loins, and arise, and speak to them all that I command you. Do not break down before their faces, lest I break you before them. For look, I have made you this day a walled city in an iron column, in bronze walls against all of the land, against the sovereigns of Yahudah, against her heads, against her Kohemin. I want to say that out loud. Kohenim. Like I said, the Holy Bible, the Hallelujah Bible is a little different. So the Kohemin, and against the people of the land. And they shall fight against you, but not prevail against you, for I am with you, declares Yahuwah, to deliver you. Okay, so there we go. So that is going to be 16 through 19. And we're going to kind of break this down a little bit. The things that jumped out to me on the page. Like I said, I am not a spiritual leader. I'm not leading a Bible study. I'm not a teacher. I'm not a preacher. I'm not none of those things. I'm just a regular person who is a healer. Okay? So, and we're looking at this as the point from a healer's perspective of what was the wound, or what was the disease, or what was the issue, the health issue, mentally, physically, and spiritually, and how do we heal it. So we're looking at it from the point of a healer. So I am well within my credentials to do that. So those are for those who think that only preachers are allowed to determine scriptures, which is crazy. All right, so here we go. So for verse 16, what jumped out to me is, once again, he announces the judgment and the consequences of it, right? So he announces why the judgment is coming and what would be the consequences of that again. So he's warning the people. Hasn't happened yet. It's a warning to the people, hoping that they would eventually turn from their ways, repent, and come back to where they're supposed to be in honoring the covenant, right? So that was the warning and the reason why, the offense, right? The wound, the disease, right? All right. So in there, Jeremiah was given an instruction, right? An instruction that was also a command. Now, we've got to remember, Jeremiah was very, very young. So imagine a young person, like I would say, 8, 9, 10, 11, between 10 and 17, saying this to a whole nation. They're not really going to take him seriously, right? So he knows that. So even though he is serious, even though he is called to do so, it's just a respective age thing. So they're going to think they know better. They're going to come against him. He knows that. But the instruction and the command was, in verse 17, Jeremiah gets the orders, and then he was given instructions on what to do. Get dressed, get up and go speak to the people, right? So that's something that you do real time. Go do it. And the instruction was also, do not break down before their faces, lest I break you before them. So there's a couple of things that I want to bring with that. Do not break down before their faces, lest I break you before them. The first thing I want to bring up is the false churches have mistakenly portrayed the Most High, who I call Yahuwah, our Father, portrayed him as a soft, effeminate type character. But through the scriptures, we know that that is incorrect, because if you read the scriptures, it repeatedly shows the opposite nature. Yah is a God of war. He is a great and terrible God to his enemies, especially. So when Yah commands something, it is not an option. If you get the call and you answer the call, it's not an option to us. We have to do it. Just like he told me to get up and do this video, I don't get to say, I'm laying in bed. I ain't got time for these. Your people be getting on my nerves. I don't feel like doing this today. I don't get an option. That need to do it is so prevalent. I can't concentrate on anything until it is done a lot of times. So especially if he really wants you to do something, you can't concentrate until it's done. And once it's done, everything goes back to normal. You did what you're supposed to do, right? So a lot of times it is not an option, right? So in this case, immediately it was not an option, because Jeremiah was sent to warn the people of a great and terrible event that would come should they not heed the message, right? So when we answer the call and we accept it, is very different than someone who is called but they didn't answer it. They have the option to just not do something. But when we accept it and we say, okay, I'm going to go forth and we're going to go forth with the calling, we just have to get stronger along the way. There's no option for us. We cannot stop. We do not stop, right? And the Most High strengthens us. He gives us the strength to start, and then he strengthens us along the way. All right. So in verse 18, I also want to say this: our knowledge and wisdom and power are given directly from Yah. Right? It's not something that we come up with on our own. It's not something. There's sometimes we know or say things that are knowledge and wisdom that we have no recollection of how we know, or there's no way that you normally would have to go to a school for like 10 years to know this type of information, but a lot of times it's just given to us. So our knowledge is given to us, right? It is given to us directly from the Most High, and there's no way that we would have that type of knowledge. So it has to be a divine type situation, to where it was either downloaded to us, what some people call it downloading, whatever the case may be. The Most High gave it to you. You wouldn't have known that knowledge before. And we are, for the most part, the people that are called, we are pretty intelligent people for the most part. But the type of knowledge, when the Most High tells us to do something, it's on another level, surpassing our own level of understanding. So that is very clear and very obvious. All right, so just know that it's not something that we come up with on our own. So even Christ said this when he was walking the earth. He said that he does nothing in his own strength. It's the same with us. We do nothing in our own strength, right? We overcome all through Yah's power given to us. Nothing is too hard for Yah. It may seem hard for us, but it's not too hard for the Father, right? That's how we accomplish things that seem almost impossible, how we overcome situations that seem impossible to get out of. It is not through our own strength, all right? Know at all times you will go against either kings, presidents, elders, councils, leaderships, armies, entire nations at some point that are in opposition of Yah, right? So we are going to be called against some very powerful people at times. And we are to show no fear, because what did the scriptures say? Fear is not a spirit of the Lord. So therefore, we are not to show fear unto them. So even unto death, there is no fear when it comes to that. Even if you feel a little afraid, if you're a little intimidated, you show no fear, because the Most High is with you. You stand in great boldness, and that boldness is not a natural boldness. It's a boldness that is given to us, even unto death. And I'm going to keep repeating that, because even unto death, because we do not fear anyone. We fear the Most High. We fear the one that can take away our soul and our spirit. We fear the one that can put us in hell. If no other being can do that, if no other person can do that, we don't fear you. Trust me. All right? And that is the fierceness of the elect, the fierceness of especially the remnant. We fear nothing because the Most High gives us a spirit of strength and courage, right? So we're different. It doesn't matter who is opposing. They could be standing right in front of our face. We don't care. We don't care if it's the enemy, Satan himself. We don't fear because we know who we are with and who is behind us, right? And who fights for us, right? So number 19, verse 19. They all will come against you, yet they will not prevail against you. Yah delivers you. Okay. So there will come times and periods, especially during what I call the training period, where you're learning your skills, where you're learning your spiritual gifts, where you're learning how to apply them, where you're learning information, where the Most High is preparing you for your calling. And sometimes it takes years to do so. Well, in that, they will come against you at some point. It seems like everyone and everything is against you. Your situation might be against you, while at the same time your family against you. At the same time, all your friends turn against you. At the same time, strangers turn against you. It seems like everything and everyone is against you. However, you will notice that in due time, you overcome every situation and that the Most High delivers you. Now, in that delivery, it could be an instant delivery. Sometimes I would say many times, we escape death. When the enemy is trying to kill us, we escape death in sometimes miraculous ways, sometimes just being informed ahead of time and being told to leave and heeding the warning. However the case may be, we are delivered. A lot of times, more often, it's going to be to where people plot against you, right? They're going to plot against you because they don't like what you said, or you told the truth and they don't like the truth. They don't like God, so they don't like you. It could be any reasons. Envy is a big one. Envy, jealousy. It could be many reasons why people plot against you, but their plans always fail. I've had it in my lifetime. If you listen to my testimonies, I've had it in my lifetime to where I had not one but two covenants come against me for years at a time. Two. If you know anything about witchcraft and all that stuff, one witch coming against you is enough to make most people quit. But an actual coven, which is a group of witches, an actual coven coming against you, not only one but two coming against you at one time, these are heavy hitters too. They were heavy hitters too. And each time they plotted for my life, but when they started doing that death magic and the heavier magic, the Most High delivered me every time. It got to the point where I learned what it was, how it felt, how to combat it in the spiritual realm, and how to combat it in the physical realm, how to maneuver, how to see it coming ahead of time. I was taught these things. I was taught how to feel when it happens to me. So now that I am out of my training, I recognize it immediately. I know I could just be waking up and I know if someone did some type of witchcraft on me. It's so simple that I just know ahead of time. There's signals that I get in my body that tell me, okay, this is happening. All right. And if it's not a signal, because my body usually feels it before any of my senses. Before my brain is aware, my body is aware. And I recognize the symptoms. And sometimes it's just, hey, somebody's doing this. I'm told it audibly. But either way, I'm aware of what is going on when they try to practice against me, right? So that is something that was taught. It took a long time. It wasn't easy, but that is something that is taught. So with that, I am prevailing over my enemies, even if it seems like I'm doing nothing. And most times I wasn't doing anything to prevail. The only thing that I had to do was keep my end of the bargain, was keep the covenant, keep the commandments, stay in good standing with the Most High. And that means without sin, just doing my thing, you know what I'm saying? And just highly protected. highly protected. If you have the gift of hearing and especially the gift of seeing, you can see certain things happening that other people may not be able to see. And you will see how active the spiritual realm is, how they actively attack you, how they actively monitor you, follow you, talk to you, try to convince you, it's so many things that are happening in the spiritual realm first, and then they manifest into the physical, right? So each time I was delivered, Jeremiah will talk about how the delivery comes. All of the apostles at some point will talk about how the Most High delivered them. A very famous and a very good example of deliverance would be King David. If you read the story of King David, he talks about that a lot, because David had a lot of enemies and he had a lot of people coming for him. So if you want to learn about what it's like having people come for you and being delivered by the Most High, and sometimes you barely get delivered, but you're still alive. You didn't die, right? There you go. Still delivered, right? So it's something along those lines. Give me a moment. Let me see if there's anything else that I was supposed to say. Oh, yes, there was. Give me a moment here. Let me turn around my notes here. There was something I wanted to say. So now that we're going to go to chapter 2, verse 1. And I'm going to stop this abruptly because the second part of this that I want to say deserves its own video. So it will be probably number 3. Not probably, it will be number 3. Let's go into it. So I'm just going to read the first part of it. Jeremiah chapter 2, verse 1. And it says, "And the word of Yahuwah came to me, saying, Go and you shall cry in the hearing of Jerusalem, saying, Thus says Yahuwah, I remember you, the kindness of your youth, the love of your bridehood, when you went after me in the wilderness in a land that was not sown." So this is actually going to be chapter 2, verses 1 through 3. So he remembers us in our youth. So after God commanded him to go crying out to Jerusalem, he's saying, I remember you, your kindness of your youth, in the love of your bridehood. He remembered a time when we were in the wilderness, where we followed him, where we honored the covenant, where we went forth and seeked him in the morning, where we read his word, when we followed his commandments, and we honored the covenant, is what he is saying here. All right? Yah is speaking to our people. When speaking of a time when our people accepted and maintained the covenant with him, to just be holy and set apart, to be his people, to follow the commandments, to worship him only, and put no other gods before him. We were the first of Yah's increase. We were his firstborn, his first love. And he's remembering and recalling a time. So I'm going to stop it right there because it goes into the second point, and I want that to be a separate video. I love you guys. Take care.